I had no desire for his gold. I think it was his eye. He had this evil eye, all a pale blue with a hideous film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, it made my blood run cold. And so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. You should have seen how I proceeded. With what skill, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the entire week before I killed him. But every night, just at midnight, I turned the latch of his door, and I opened it. Slowly. You would have laughed to have seen how slow. Until I had an opening sufficient for my head. I then thrust in a dark lantern. Shut tight, so no ray of light came out. And then I thrust in my head. You would have laughed to have seen how cunningly I thrust it in. It took me an hour the first night to get my head in so far that I could see him as he lay upon the bed. When I had my head in the room, I opened a slight crevice. Carefully, carefully. The hinges creaked till a single ray fell on the eye. This I did every night, just at midnight, for 7 long nights. But I found it impossible to do the deed. The eye was always closed, and it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And in the morning, I went boldly to his room. I greeted him heartily, calling him by name. I inquired how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have had to have been a very perceptive old man indeed, to have even imagined that every night, just at midnight, I looked in on him while he slept. Now, on the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in entering the room. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than mine. I had never before felt the extent of my power, of my sagacity. To think he lay there. Never to think or dream of my secret deeds against him. I fairly chuckled at the idea. And perhaps he heard me, for he moved suddenly on the bed as if startled. Now, you may think I drew back, but no. No, the room was black as pitch. The shutters were close fastened through fear of robbers, and I kept going steadily. Steadily. I had my head in the room. I was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped on the catch, and he sprang up in bed and cried out, "Who's there?" For an hour, I did not move. And I did not hear him lie down again either. Presently, I heard a low groan. I knew it was not a groan of pain or despair. I knew the sound well. It was a groan of mortal terror. The sound that wells up from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew that sound. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from the bottom of my own soul, deepening with its dreadful echoes the terrors that distracted me. And I say I knew it well. And I pitied him. But I chuckled at heart. He'd been lying awake ever since the first slight noise. His fear had been steadily growing on him. He tried to fancy causes. He'd said, it's a mouse crossing the floor. It is the wind in the chimney. It is a cricket that has made a single chirp. He's tried to comfort himself with these suppositions, but it's all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching the figure, has reached out with its black shadow and enveloped him. And it is that shadow that caused him to sense rather than to know my presence in the room. had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a slight crevice in the lantern, so that a single thin ray, like a filament of a spider's web, fell full upon an eye. It was open. Wide open. I could see it in perfect clarity, a hideous blue with that awful film over it. It made my blood run cold. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. Now, I've told you that I am nervous, and what you mistake for madness is but an overacuteness of the senses. There came a sound in my ears. It was a low, dull, quick sound, much a sound as a watchmaker's when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart, and the sound of it roused me to fury, as a drum stimulates a soldier to courage. But for some minutes, I stood still. I held the lantern steady. I tried how carefully I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme, but still I waited. It grew louder, louder. Now, at this dead hour of the night, in the dreadful silence of the old house, such a sound roused me to an unspeakable fury, but still I maintained the ray upon the eye. But it grew louder, louder. I thought the heart must burst. Now a new thought came to me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. I threw open the lantern, and I leaped into the room. He shrieked once only, and then I grabbed him, pulled him to the floor, and dragged the heavy bed on top of him. And I smiled to find the deed so easily done. Oh, the heart beat on for some minutes, but the muffled sound, it would not be heard. Presently it ceased. I pulled away the bed, and I examined the corpse. I placed my hand upon the heart, and I held it there for many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. Now, if you still think me mad, you will no longer, when I describe